Ashley's second question is, and this is actually a really good question, Ashley. Why do you think they finally decided to bring in the Shiekah? All they have ever had was Impa before, and now they have a town full of them, and the whole game is practically about the Shiekah. Why do you think they focus so much on the Shiekah tribe this time around?
Can we call up Andy from McIntyre?
Oh yeah, he's knowledgeable on the subject.
Yeah, if there was ever a Shiekah historian, it would be Andy.
Oh yeah.
So.
But I could try.
Well, I just think that because they were so clouded in mystery a lot of the other games, you really didn't get to really know much. It was a good thing to explore, first of all, because there's nothing really concrete about them. So it was easy to make a storyline involving them, right? There's nothing that would contradict much or anything like that. So I mean, that's probably like a good reason. It's just like, all right, well, it's time we finally kind of delve into these guys. So yeah,
a bit of headcanon here, but like I think the Shiekah, like we know that they've existed, but I think they have been present all along.
Yeah.
Like I said, a bit of headcanon here. It's very theoretical, but like the Shiekah technology, they were very technologically advanced. We see that in Breath of the Wild with the shrines and the guardians and there's Shiekah Slate and the runes and stuff. We go all the way back to Skyward Sword. So we've got the ancient robots and the time shift stones have the Shiekah symbol on them. And the way that it's all powered with this same sort of design and this blue energy.
Yeah.
And the ancient robots existed in a time before Hyrule, where the goddess Hylia was around, right? The Shiekah were servants to the goddess Hylia. When Hylia was reborn as Zelda, the Shiekah then went on to serve as the royal families, like ninja guards, basically, right?
Ninja guards, yep.
So this Shiekah technology is super ancient in Breath of the Wild already. I think it's the same technology. And we even see inklings of it. I think there's a relation to the Twilight Tribe in Twilight Princess because their technology has a similar aesthetic. And in Wind Waker, we see glimpses of it in the Tower of the Gods, a similar technology. Now, if the Shiekah were servants to the goddess, there's no reason that like they couldn't have served the other gods as well. So there's sort of a connection there. You see a similar technology. Same with in Twilight Princess in the Temple of Time, as well as the Twilight race or the Twilight tribe. In the Temple of Time dungeon, there's the statues that get powered up with a similar energy that has these lines, like all this energy that's so it's not identical, but I think there's inklings of these Shiekah sort of being behind the scenes all throughout the history of Hyrule. So it's just some food for thought, like, and I think it's only in Breath of the Wild where we've finally seen them, like, a lot, but they've been there, like, all along, like, sort of in secret, doing their ninja stuff, so.
Doing their ninja stuff. And that whole area in Skyward Sword with, the robots, and you see the past and then present and stuff, that was so cool to that game.
Yeah, that was one of the really cool gimmicks in that game. Like, it was just, like, such a neat mechanic as well. Yeah. Jesse, your thoughts?
Any thoughts?
Yeah,
Silent Jesse.
My thought is like, so in Ocarina of Time 3D, they added a bunch of stuff that wasn't there previously. Some of it was like throwbacks or Easter eggs for Skyward Sword. Like they literally had posters of Skyward Sword in Ocarina of Time 3D. But one of the things that they added was the Book of Majora. There was the Shiekah house in Kakariko Village, and if you go inside the house, on the table there's the big green book, which is the book from, like, it has the Shiekah symbol, and it's the same book, or thought to be the same book from A Link to the Past, when you go to Kakariko Village.
And it's also on Zelda's desk in Breath of the Wild, next to her diary.
Is it?
It is, yeah, because I actually had to go, I'm working on a video for the Chamber of Sages channel, and I had to go record some footage, and I just was going to record footage in there, and I was like, whoa, there's that book. Like, I just saw it, I was like, whoa, damn. So, it's in Zelda's room. So it's it's pretty cool. It's some nice detail. Though pretty much like any green book in Zelda can pretty much be it can pretty much be chalked up to be the Book of Majora.
Yeah, but this book had the it had the Shiekah symbol on it, which it doesn't really say whose house it is. Like they say it belonged to a Shiekah member or whatever. Some theorize that it was a long time ago. Bongo Bongo was like beheaded or whatever. That's why he doesn't have a neck and his hands are cut off.
Wait,
so like
which house in Ocarina of Time is it? Which house in Kakariko? Because like, Bongo Bongo's house was where
the well is.
Theoretically, was where the well is now.
Okay.
I think it's mentioned by the old guy. He's like, the guy who used to have the Lens of Truth, his house stands where the well is now. And then you find the Lens of Truth.
Yeah. We have about 50 people watching us talk about the stupidest things.
About a book that's on a table in a house.
Yeah.
Alright. Guys, I gotta change my camera battery really quickly.
Uh-oh. See, I just plugged my camera right into the wall.
I should probably do that.
No risks.
Yeah, whatever. I'm doing that like right now. Taking
okay.
Whoa!
So,
okay, do you know which house? Because it might be. Do you think it's Impa's house? Because her house is in the game, though you never see her in it.
It could be Impa's house, but because I was thinking that, and then I was like, well, the other guy was said to be a Shiekah. Bongo Bongo was said to be a member of the Shiekah Tribe or whatever. That's why. Whatever, but
so you wonder, would he have been like an early sort of progenitor of the Yiga clan then, if he was like a Shiekah defector?
Yeah, and then like we have so many different
more theory territory.
There's just so many different things that could point to Shiekah being there. There's always at least one, like Impa is in a bunch of games. Zelda, when she turns into Sheik, obviously becomes a Shiekah member. Even though like her job would be to protect herself, because the Sheikah's job is to their role is to protect the Highlands, but or not the Highland, the royal family, and she is the royal family, so she's like protecting herself. So, but yeah, like they could have always be there. They're secretive or whatever, so they could just be hiding. Who knows? That's one of those. But the original question, why did they wait until Breath of the Wild to focus on it? And I think it's easy to answer, because if you need a plot for a Zelda story and you think back to, okay, what's the easiest mystery that we could kind of dive into? The Shiekah.
Right,
so they just went with it. Like that would be at the top of the list, other than like we could do the origins of the Shiekah, which is kind of what they did, or they could do the origins of Majora, and obviously go with Shiekah because they're more known in all of the games. Where yeah, so that's my thoughts on it. Okay. Do we have the next question? And are you recording again, Holly?
Yeah, I'm good. It took it. Right. It was like not even a 10-second switch.
All right. So we should be able to get through. We'll try to get through the rest of these questions kind of fast. Daniel and I usually do this to where, like, we go in thinking we're just going to spend like 30 seconds to a minute on each question.
Yeah, no, it's hard.
It's always longer.
Yeah,
always.
All right. So our third question, this one really simple, comes from Patrick Beard 3. No, just Patrick Beard. They had a 3 beside their name, but it was for something else. Says, has Link ever married Zelda? Now this comes off one of the main questions from our last video was, are we in favor of the Z-Link, which is what they, like the nickname they give to the Zelda-Link relationship, which Skyward Sword and maybe Breath of the Wild
Holly?
are the only ones that kind of teased it.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on the Link-Zelda relationship? And to answer the question, no, they've never been married that we know of.
At least we've never seen it canonically, but
yeah, when the game ends, who knows?
That
they probably
Skyward Sword, Link and Zelda and Skyward Sword, I think that they probably ended up together, but that's the only one that I would be like firmly able to be like, yeah, for sure, this one, these guys.
Yeah.
Maybe Breath of the Wild as well, but otherwise, like, I always just saw them very platonically.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Next question comes from Nicholas, who says, if you're still taking question, or if you're... Blah, I'm getting tongue-tied. Nicholas asks, if you're still taking questions, what do you think about a true Zelda RPG done like Dragon Quest or Fire Emblem?
Like with their combat system?
I would say so, because if they're going like the true RPG route, then it would be more like a turn-based fighting game.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what he had in mind. Either like, because Fire Emblem's kind of tactical turn-based, Dragon Quest is just like turn-based RPG. Yeah. The closest we've got to like really heavy RPG stuff is like Zelda 2, but even then it's like real-time combat still. So I think if they took out real-time combat from Zelda, you would lose a pretty big piece of what is important to the series, you know?
Yeah.
But like, I mean, they're all about kind of doing these convention-breaking stuff lately. But
it's true. But I wouldn't like that. I don't think I'd be like extremely happy about that.
Yeah.
Unless it was a spin-off and it didn't have Link, like it was a side story about other characters in the Zelda universe.
Oh, Tingle.
That could be really cool. Not Tingle.
Yeah. we already have
Tingle
3 or 4
fighting
games
baddies,
dedicated to
turn-based.
Tingle.
Yeah.
No, Tingle has its own games already. But yeah, like that could be really cool. Especially if you had like the champions or something similar to that.
That'd be cute. That'd
as
be
like
fun.
as your RPG party. You know, you've got Mipha's your healer, Daruk's like your heavy character. You know, Rivali's your archer, Urbosa's like your fighter. You know, you've got
Assassin,
a solid party
fighter.
there.
Yeah, actually, they're your typical classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got a solid RPG party there. So they can make something really good with that.
Maybe you just gave Nintendo an idea for their eventual smartphone Zelda game.
Oh no! I said I didn't want them to make a smartphone Zelda game.
Could you imagine?
Oh.
Alright,
if they do that, I'm suing.
I don't.
No, I'm kidding.
I don't know if I would like if it's just one game and it's a spin-off, like a third party's making it, not Nintendo themselves. Then I could see me playing it and possibly liking it, as long as it's not taking away from whatever the next big Zelda game is. But if they just added more RPG elements, like leveling up weapons or items and stuff like that, sort of like what they did with Breath of the Wild, it had a lot of RPG features. I would like to see even more RPG mechanics put in place, but not the battle system. That's one thing that has to stay Zelda.
I agree.
Alright, so our next question comes from Haley Leonard. See, I'll tell you, like, most of these people are just girls that are in love with you, Daniel.
Oh, good.
Man.
That's good. Fan girls are great.
Yeah, it says...
Great, I'm off the market, sorry.
Doesn't matter.
It said, GameOverJesse, I have something that may be a good discussion. Would Nintendo include DLC for other games like Mario, Xenoblade, Pokemon, or any other titles? Now, we've seen DLC for Smash Brothers, Hyrule Warriors, Mario Kart, Breath of the Wild, Fire Emblem Warriors, the Fire Emblem 3DS games all have DLC. So I totally... And actually, Pokemon has been getting DLC sort of for a long time. Like, they have the special events where you like go to GameStop or some random place, like go to some event, and for that day you'll get whatever the free download is.
Yeah.
So I could see them continuing that in like more of what typical DLC is for the next Pokemon game, especially since aside from Mario, every big game that Nintendo's put out this past year has had DLC. So Mario,
Pokemon would easily do it.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a Mario Odyssey DLC get announced soon. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. I think if they were going to do it, like, probably would have announced it already. Like, because the most part, they usually announce it, like, pretty close to release date. But if suddenly they, like, had a direct next week or something, and they were like, hey, there's a Mario Odyssey DLC where we're adding an extra kingdom or two. I'd be like, great,
and
that's
new outfits.
Really cool.
Yeah, new outfits.
Of course, new outfits. Yeah, if you're going to more kingdoms, of course, it's new outfits.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to actually ride on Luigi. And
Luigi?
Yoshi. Sorry.
I was like, excuse me?
Yes, that was my one complaint with Mario Odyssey is I want to ride on Yoshi instead of possess him like some kind of evil phantom.
Yeah,
you
could do the death jump from Super Mario World, where like you jump over and like push.
That's the one thing I have a problem with in Super Mario World.
Push Yoshi into the never-ending void, and then you use him to like do a double jump.
Oh my god.
I love Yoshi so much. Like honestly,
Yoshi.
I just want more Yoshi.
Yeah, I do like Yoshi.
Yeah. All right. So our next question comes from the Wolfpack 23X, who says, "Didn't Ura Zelda become Majora's Mask?" The answer is kind of.
Kinda.
Yeah. So a lot of the features that were dropped from Ocarina of Time's expansion, Zelda Ura, were brought over to Majora's Mask, but then there were some that were brought over to Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, even Skyward Sword had features from the Ura expansion. So, like something simple in Twilight Princess, you could have sword combat while on horse. That was one of the first things that Miyamoto wanted to do with Ocarina of Time, but he couldn't because the Nintendo 64 didn't have the processing power. But the disk drive added extra processing power that could have possibly allowed you to have that horse combat. And then there was the Sky dungeons, which we got in Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword that Nintendo wanted to do for Ocarina of Time. We got
a lot of people think there was a Temple of Light in Ura Zelda that became Tower of the Gods in Wind Waker. It's a theory, nothing firm, but
so there are a lot of those things. But
although
some
that
of the
could
stuff
have also been Temple of Time in Twilight Princess because that's got a lot of
and some of the stuff that was cut from the Ura expansion still got left in the actual game. Like we were supposed to have a full ice temple, but that got cut down to the ice cavern.
Yeah. Which, if they made a whole temple out of that, I would have been so angry.
Yeah, that was definitely.
I'm sorry, but no thanks. No thanks. We don't need
honestly,
that.
the biggest problem with the ice cavern is trying to fight someone, and then you're like, you just slide.
Yeah, could you imagine an entire temple like that? No, thank you.
Oh yeah, there's one in A Link to the Past. It's the most frustrating dungeon.
I would have been so angry as a child in Ocarina of Time. I would have put the game down. I'd be like, okay, peace.
So theoretically, there was the ice cavern that was supposed to be the full ice dungeon. So you still got some of it. A lot of people think that because Zora's Domain does not unfreeze in Ocarina of Time, like after you beat the Water Temple, Lake Hylia is restored. After you beat the Forest Temple, Kokiri Forest and the Lost Woods are restored. The Gorons come back to Goron City. So like every dungeon you beat fixes the place, but Zora's Domain never unfreezes. The thought is the boss that you would have potentially beat in the full ice temple dungeon would have unthawed all of Zora's Domain and that area where Jabu Jabu is. But Majora's Mask
if the boss
ended up having
Jabu Jabu?
So
like in a corrupted state, that could have been cool.
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff from Ura Zelda was reused in later games. Majora's Mask, he asks, the time system was brought over from Zelda Ura. It was supposed to be a full week instead of just 3 days. And there was more masks that were introduced into the Majora's Mask, and yeah, there was just like a bunch of random stuff there. There was the full ice dungeon inside Majora's Mask, so there's a bunch of stuff there. But the next question, Jose Ahara, I don't know how to pronounce that, I apologize, asks or says, I think you've mentioned this on one of your videos already, but what do you think of being able to dive and swim underwater on the next Zelda game? I think this has been...
Yes.
I think if this had been done on Breath of the Wild, the game would be even bigger. Just imagine if they had added some shrines that you could find in underwater caves. Even an underwater dungeon with a structure mainly based on caves and not necessarily a temple underwater like in Twilight Princess would be something cool to experience. In a new Zelda game, the enemies could be like the zombie or re-dead bokoblins that come out in Skyward Sword, since it'd be sort of underground. What are your thoughts on this? So I'm a big fan of swimming and like having the iron boots or whatever that lets you dive and explore underwater in Zelda games. That was one of the like the entire water temple was based off of that in Ocarina of Time. So Holly, what are your thoughts on that? Do you wish you could have like dove underneath the water?
Yeah, that'd been really nice, because I think I don't remember who said it originally. In a video I was watching, but the fact that there's, you know, you can climb every mountain, right? Yeah. But there's so many dark spaces and caverns and tunnels and stuff, or there should be, and you can't really kind of explore into Hyrule too much, but there kind of should be, especially since some of the shrines are very hidden in like bombable walls, and there's a few that you have to like venture pretty far down to get to and stuff. I think it would have been cool if you were able to do that a little bit more in the game. That's for sure. And be able to swim underwater to find places like that. Yeah.
Alright. What about your thoughts on that, Daniel? Because Wind Waker was also, I think, another game that wouldn't let you explore underwater. So
yeah, but I mean, if you could, like that, the whole game is in the ocean. So
that's gonna take a lot of time.
That restriction.
That's a lot of time.
You know what's funny is the first time in the Wind Waker that I got the iron boots, the first thing I did was put them on and hop in the water, and then I got so confused that I died.
Oh,
like, oh, but I should be able to sink down.
Wait a minute.
Because I'm so used to it in the previous Zelda games that you could just hop in with. Like, I got the iron boots. I actually just skipped the description, you know, but I should have read it and saw that it said that it would like stop heavy winds and stuff, like which was in Ocarina of Time as well, that you could use it that way, but it was mostly used for like underwater stuff. So I mean, oops. I was younger then, so I mean, oops. But I mean, I would have really liked it, especially if, you know, you had a divine beast that was underwater, you know, like a fifth, like we talked about. I think that's how it came up before, is we're talking about the possibility of like, if way back before Champions Ballad was out, if there was another divine beast that was like a water themed one that you had to swim to, and that would be really cool. Like if there was like an upgrade to the Zora Greaves that lets you dive or something like that, right? And there is a lot of space in Breath of the Wild that, like, they have it rendered, like, there is space under the water, and there's, like, collision stuff, because if you can drop a sword underwater, and it'll sink down only a certain amount, and there's stuff under the water that will prevent you from using Magnesis to pull it back up. I've lost a few good weapons that way by accident.
Oh, no!
And when you're fighting a Lizalfos on the beach and he electrocutes you, and then your sword goes flying into the water, and you're like, no! That was a royal broadsword! It's like, no, there was a kid at plus durability!
Oh, no.
So, yeah, I mean, I would have really liked that as a feature. I think it was one of the things that was missing, especially because Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword both had pretty good handling for Link swimming. Probably Twilight Princess more, because you had the, like in Skyward Sword you could swim pretty freely, but there was no iron boots and no breathing underwater. Whereas in Twilight Princess you had the free swimming, you had the Zora armor, you got the iron boots. Like it was probably the game that handled it the best of all the ones. So.
Yeah, and you had the underwater bombs as well.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And you could actually use your sword underwater.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like if you put on the iron boots, you could only use the hook shot to do anything underwater in Ocarina of Time, which I felt was like kind of restricting and unnecessarily restricting.
Yeah. Maybe that was the same thing with, like, Miyamoto wanted to do horse combat, but the Nintendo 64 wouldn't let him, so maybe it wouldn't let you do that underwater. Who knows?
Yeah, it's possible. But, like, Twilight Princess did some really cool stuff that, like, I kind of wish that, like, that then Skyward Sword came around, and I'm like, hey, cool, I got the double claw shots again. I can do all this Spider-Man stuff. And I was like, actually, you can do... there's less stuff that you can do with the claw shots in Skyward Sword that you could do in Twilight Princess, which was kind of weird. So I felt like, yeah, there was some mishandling there. So if they did do underwater, I'd like how to do it, how they did in Twilight Princess, basically. But they probably just do something completely new that they've never done before, to be frank, because that's how they do with Breath of the Wild anyway, so.
That's how we do.
The videos on this channel are funded by supporters on Patreon like you. If you're a fan of this channel and would like to join on videos, receive shoutouts, watch videos early, have your questions answered, or have your topic discussed on our podcast, please consider supporting on Patreon for these and many other rewards for just $1. Shoutouts for this video includes Link Use the Triforce, Rusty Caulfield, Lovable Christie, Give Time 15, Shadow to Us, Robbie Morgan, and Lunarium. I want to thank all of you for everything you have done to help support this channel.